AI is all the hype at the moment, with companies like Anthropic raising over $30 billion in funding and now being worth ridiculous amounts, startups raising ridiculous amounts of money in their seed round, and every product you've seen under the sun describing themselves as powered by AI. But is there some usefulness to all of this, and how can you start building useful things with AI? Typically, you've probably interacted with AI through a chatbot interface. This could be things like ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, and other providers, where you provide it a simple prompt and you get an answer back. This is a very manual process, and in some scenarios, this can be really useful. But how can you take that sort of interaction and turn it into something automated that could run on a schedule or be event-based? In this video, I'm going to walk you through how you can make AI work for you in an automated fashion. Before we jump into AI workflows, let's first discuss what a workflow is and how an AI workflow might differentiate itself to a traditional workflow that we're familiar with. Now, a traditional workflow is normally a defined sequence of steps that will run in a certain order, but the key thing is the tasks are defined. Which is great, because what this allows you to do is you can give it a reliable input in a structured format, and you'll get a reliable output in a format that you're expecting. Now, here is an example of traditional workflows. I have a number of tasks expecting an input in a standardized format, and then it is going to process that and generate the data in an output that we would expect, which means every time I run this workflow, I will get the same result every time. So as we can see, I can execute this workflow, it's going to run, and if I run this 300 times, I will get that same result at the end every single time. Now, where this starts to fall flat is if I was to change the input here to something that does not fit the schema of this original task, the products JSON that we're downloading. If I change this to something that doesn't fit that, it will break. It will not know what to do with that information. And this is where an AI workflow can come in pretty handy, because instead of following a rigid structure, it can instead figure out how it's going to achieve the goal that you've set it out on. I would say AI workflows are split into sort of three main categories. Now, this is again another thing that's debated in the world of AI, of everyone has their own definition, but I'm going to keep it simple with three main categories of AI workflows. Now, your first kind is your basic prompting. This is very similar to what you would do with ChatGPT, where you would ask it a question and it would give you a response. Now, nowadays, ChatGPT has access to other tools where it can search the web for more information, but assume this is when the models first came out and it's using the data that it's trained on. Now, this is very useful for certain use cases, such as summarizing information or helping you draft an email. It can take some bullet points, a rough input. This input might not necessarily be the same format every time, but it will then produce you an output that you could then use. Now, here's an example of where a basic prompting AI workflow can be used in practice. Now, this workflow has a task here that's going to fail. And what we could do is, using this error block that we can see in this topology view, is we could just send an error message to Slack to let us know, by the way, something has failed. That's what we would do in a traditional workflow. But what we can do here is use the OpenAI task inside of Kestra to be able to pump our error message into OpenAI, ask it to enhance that response before then sending it to Slack. So if we actually have a look at the workflow itself, we can see here that the prompt we're giving it here is how we would like to see that format, and we then give it the error logs that are produced. And then afterwards, we can then send a Slack message like we can see here, which then gives us that output from the AI chat completion task. So we get that enriched error message. So this is a great example of where you can use a prompting AI task to be able to enhance text and be able to summarize it in a nice way that's useful for you. Now, the next example is a RAG workflow, RAG standing for Retrieval Augmented Generation. Now, if you'd love to learn more about RAG, we did a dedicated video explaining how RAG works in practice, so I definitely recommend checking that out. But the short of it is, RAG workflows can go and fetch information from a database or storage where it has knowledge about the subject. So this works really well for scenarios like a customer support bot, where someone might submit a request for support. And that could run a workflow which can then fetch that information, and then it can enhance the response before sending it back to the person who asked the question, which will be useful. Now, the risk here is if you don't use RAG, AI will go and generate a response based on its training data. And if your product or whatever it may be is not in its training data, it will either not know the answer, which is not great, or it will make it up, which is worse. No one wants a fake response. That just confuses your customer at the end of the day even more. So, being able to use a RAG workflow allows you to fetch information from your knowledge base, enhance it in the way that you want for your customer support bot, and then send it back to the user who's looking for the support. Now, here's a quick example of where we can use RAG to tell us about a recent release of Kestra. Now, I've got a URL here that is going to fetch data from a GitHub release note. We can use this ingest document task to be able to read this file and then add it into our RAG embedding. So that means that when we then call the RAG completion task here, it can fetch the information from our embedding provider. So instead of making it up, it will go and look for the response in there, and then it can enhance it before producing an output. And then at the end here, we can see that it's then going to log the responses. Now, this example is literally just going to ask what was released in Kestra 1.1. So if I press execute now, what we'll see is it's going to go and ingest that document. It's going to ask the RAG task what the answer is, and then we can see here in the log task that it gives us a nice summary of the features, and I can confirm those were things released in that release of Kestra. Now, the third type of AI workflow is agentic workflows or agent workflows. This is where your AI chatbot has access beyond just the training data that it has. It can use tools to be able to fetch information and figure out what it's doing. And so the thing that makes this really nice is you now describe the goal that you're trying to achieve, you give it access to tools, and it will figure out which tools it needs to use to get to that end goal. So compared to a traditional workflow where those steps are predefined and rigid, here, it can change its mind depending on each run of the workflow. It's also worth noting that these agents also have memory. So that means between runs, they have context as to what was discussed, why it should be doing things in a certain way, if there's things it should remember from previous executions. So let me show you an example of where this works really well. Now, here's an interesting use case of where an agentic workflow is particularly helpful. Here I've got a market research agent that is set up to schedule every day at 9 a.m. to run my agent task, where the agent task isn't just going to ask Gemini a question. Instead, I've given it a content retriever here where it can now go and ask Tavity Web Search to go and find that information in real time, not just using its training data. So that is a very helpful part. But also I've given it a tool here where it can save a file. So it's going to go find that market research on the competitors of orchestration tools, which is the prompt, and then it's going to save it as a file. And then at the end here, I can then send an email to myself with that markdown file. So every day at 9 a.m., I'm going to get an email in my inbox with competitor analysis. Now, this is very, very useful because it might use different search prompts each day compared to what it might do with a more traditional workflow. I'm not asking it to just search competitor names. I'm asking it to figure out what it should search and how it should get that information, which should then enable it to be able to get a little bit more information compared to a more rigid traditional workflow. And when we run that, we can actually see it generates the file here, and we can actually view the file very nicely here inside of Kestra, and this would receive in our inbox for us to view. So hopefully that gives you an insight into AI workflows and how you can actually start building some useful things with them. But it is worth noting that AI shouldn't belong in every workflow. If you are doing something a little bit more traditional, something like ETL, like I have in this blueprint here, where the data is going to turn up in a certain format, you're going to transform it and then load it into a source, it's best to keep this without AI because AI is non-deterministic, which means it might not always generate the same response, and it might not always generate the same results. Whereas using something like this, which has a rigid structure, it's going to be repeatable and you're going to get the same result every time you run it. Whereas you can't necessarily guarantee that with an AI workflow. AI isn't just a buzzword, it really is powerful. So I'm curious to understand what kind of agentic workflows you're building and how you're leveling up your automation.